say something else real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the tweet I made a few months ago about how people thought that, like, Endbringer Telethia is Melia? Have you seen that tweet yet?
I have seen it, yes.
Oh my god. Like, how would people think Melia, of all people, would be the Endbringer Telethia? Like, I don't get it. It's so, so weird. Hey guys, Luxker here. This is part 3 of the Xenoblade areas tier list I'm doing with Yggdrasil. If you haven't watched part 1 or 2 yet, I suggest watching those videos first before delving into this part. And as always, please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and hit that notification bell. Without further ado, let's get going. And now let's get to the High-Entia Tomb, which... The High-Entia Tomb, I also like to say, is a Xenogears dungeon just because of how not the best it is alone. Maybe I can put it in, like, low B tier, high C tier. I think I might put it in low B tier because of bias, but, like, the High-Entia Tomb is not the most standout dungeon in the game. Like, Galahad Fortress, I'd say, even for, like, how short it is, it's a much more concise, more memorable location than the High-Entia Tomb. What the High-Entia Tomb really amounts to is basically just so much lore about the High-Entia, and like the first part where Melia goes through it and has to fight a few guys, and then like the rest of the gang has to go through like just the underground, having to climb all these like annoying walls just to get to Melia at the very end. It's just so linear in that aspect, and I don't know if I can put it any higher than low B tier, really.
I would throw it in C, to be completely honest. I would put it below Cliffs of Mortha even, because yeah, it just plays in that linearity. It's all like the kind of lighting they put in there actually hurts my eyes sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. The only things it's got going for it, in my opinion, funny Rhine scene, of course, and it makes use of hidden rooms not on the map. That I can get behind, but everything else, no. I don't look forward to High-Entia Tomb. Anytime a side quest has me go back in there, I try and see if I can just trade the items with someone else first. But yeah, no, I do not like going in High-Entia Tomb one bit. For that, I'm gonna put it low C.
I'm pretty biased though and put in low B, but I can agree on that. Like, a lot of the aspects of it are just, I feel like are Xenogears dungeon-esque to me, so I would just put it in like high C tier for me. So, and now let's go ahead and go on to Indal. Now, I honestly think Indal is a really solid just area in general. There's not a lot to it, but it's just solid, and like a lot of stuff happening with like within the story of Xenoblade 2 and just the Titan itself in general, of how Amalthus is portraying the Titan in general. Like, if I think of Indal, I think of Amalthus and how much of a great villain and how he's portrayed in Xenoblade 2 in general is just all encapsulated in Indal's strengths in general. Like, the church aspect, the refugees just being stranded on the Titan, a lot of like relationships that like all the other countries are aligned with as well. Like, they're all aligned with Indal pretty well, and like we don't really know the backhanded of it until like chapter 9 when everything gets revealed at the end. But like Indal is just such a nice location, but like I would just say it's like bottom of A tier for me, really, because like it's such a spectacular area. It's just like I don't know how much I can recommend it because of how long we're there and the fact that we can't go back to it after chapter 9. So what do you think?
Yeah, I'd personally put it high B, right below Argentum, if only because, again, it's beautiful. It makes its points very poignantly, with Amalthus and the refugees, but it's like, no, look how pristine everything else is. Listen to how beautiful the choir is. But if you look at the message that the choir is singing, it's actually rather dour, that it's like we're the chosen ones. And it's like, well, what about these refugees that are right here? All the cutscenes involved in Indal are great. The only low point I have is really just like the Emperor Niall's assassination attempt. It's like,
yeah, that was
not
kind
really
of
the best.
iffy.
It's whatever.
I wouldn't
But
really count it as part of like the Indal part in general, but yeah, it's kind of a low point of
I mean, just that
of
it takes
chapter
place
6.
in Indal and whatnot.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would rate it just below Argentum, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say it's probably at the bottom of A tier, and I think it's gonna just stay at the bottom of A tier personally. So, but hey, it's all right. So, and now we get to the land of Moritha. Oh my gosh! Like, once the beginning of chapter 9 hits, it really hits. I'd say it's high A tier, probably under Frontier Village for me personally. Just it's not long or anything, but it's strikingly different from pretty much every area in this game, and like how familiar it is, and like how that the way of how humanity went, and if you play Future Redeemed especially, you know what this really was, and it ended up to just be this prosperous land that had people in it, and it's just feels so somber and sad just seeing it in this desolate place. And like the Goldos especially are like some of my favorite enemies in Xenoblade. I wish Goldos would come back again, because they're just such a fascinating enemy to fight. They're kind of reminiscent of Gnosis in that sort of respect from Xenosaga, but like they're a lot scarier and like threatening for one, and just they evoke such a strong scary theme to it all. And like the bottom of the Torrent Titan just being a part of it too is just like you get to see its insides and everything, and the reveal from Jin about how like where blades just came from, and like how they could have grown to be like different kinds of people, just like how Mortha is. It's so evocative and just really hits the right beats for me. So
yeah, the Torn Carcass is definitely unsettling. That whole zone's unsettling. Again, back to Bionis Interior, the unsettling atmosphere and environment, but it plays so much more in Moritha, especially. It's we least expect to see something like this in the world of 2, and then to see again what's become and what it was once in Future Redeemed only adds to it further. So yeah, I would tend to agree. Visually, summarily, it's a fantastic sad zone.
For sure,
tragic zone.
It's such a tragic area, and this location is presumed to be where Klaus lived and breathed, and like knowing that all of the colleagues and the people that used to be in these cities are just decrepit monsters that like pretty much haunt this place too. Like, man, it really does hit. So
that being said, though, I'm not the biggest fan of exploring it per se. I'm fine with it conceptually, and I like the Goldos as well, but exploring it, some questionable skill checks, like a little bit of annoying verticality in some sections, but otherwise okay.
But those are optional though. Like I it's not the best for exploring, but like a lot of the skill checks there are optional, and like you can just go find goodies and stuff in there. But a lot of the game, if you want to explore, you have to do skill checks anyway. And it's not like the Cliffs of Mortha where it's required to actually use skill checks to progress. So I think the Land of Mortha just hits that respect for me. So next up is Letheria. Now Letheria is it's hard to really say about Letheria. Like I want to put it in S tier, but like I guess I can explain why in a second here. I'm actually gonna put it above Erisea. I used to really love Letheria and its atmosphere, as well as Fonset Village in general, and like how like each area is split in half. But man, it's kind of a trek to get through Letheria, especially like it doesn't have a lot of accessible fast travel points, especially
Yeah, the
like,
first time can be rough.
Yeah, especially like in the second half where fast traveling is kind of difficult to go through, and especially since a lot of side quests appear in it, and there's a lot of kind of annoying enemies in there, like there's this one unique monster in the first part. It's like this Jagras unique monster. I really don't like that unique monster, if I'm being honest. But that's to say, really. Letheria is such a great region. Everything around it, like the cloud, going through the cloud wall, is such a cool setting. But I don't know. I just find it to just be a pretty high mid A tier area and nothing else really. Nothing really stands out to me besides like Fonset Village and just the emotional moments over there, really. So
I think again, it's a matter of concept. You know, these giant jellyfish like titans, and they're reaching out to one another through their tentacles. It's all, I quite enjoy that. And again, Fonset, yeah, absolutely beautiful. The sea of clouds has never been so more inviting to observe through just the Leftherian archipelago. So I give it that. But yeah, a little rough on the not rough, annoying to just go through all those all through all that walking and get through all of it. But once you're there and you're just doing things on your own pace, I think it adds up a lot better.
Yeah, conceptually,
music really adds to it.
Conceptually, it's S tier, but going through it all, I would say kind of drags it down a little bit. But it's definitely better than Era C in general, which is why I put it right next to it. So overall, just a really fantastic area just to go through, and even the cloud wall in the middle is just a giant titan, which we'll get into later, how gigantic this titan is. So next up is Magna Forest. Now, if this was me like 5 years ago, this would be high A tier, but for me, I would say it's probably like, yeah, mid B tier, I would say, like above Black Mountain, under Argentum Trade Guild. I think Magna Forest is such a wonderful location because of how dense like everything feels, and there's this like mist or something that like goes around Magna Forest that like it just feels so nostalgic to me. I don't know why. The whole misty part of it, just going through it all. There's also the Great Magna Falls, such an iconic Xenoblade location. Walking through the bridges on it as well. It has King Agni's tomb, which is such a really dense lore-filled area. Like, it has giant lore in it, too.
Optional too, but when you take the time to go for it, absolutely.
Yeah. Like, I feel like it drags off past, like, the Magna Falls and the Agni Tomb stuff. I feel like it kind of drags off a little bit for me. The rest of the area, I feel is just, like, half of it's peak, and then, like, the other half of it is just, whatever, I guess. Just flowing rapids. There's like, Hodes and stuff that you can fight, or Lugas and stuff. There's some Dinosauros that you can fight. They're pretty threatening enemies, but, like, nothing really standoutish in particular. There's some great Melia moments, like, in that section, though, but I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a mid kind of area for Xenoblade areas in general, so I'll just call it the mid area of Xenoblade. So what about you, Yig?
Again, nostalgia factor hits, bias hits with Xenoblade 1. I quite like Magna, but I loved it a lot more in Definitive. It definitely stood out to me in the base game, don't get me wrong, but Magna and also Satorl Marsh suffer from like the low poly fog issues. Definitive fixed that, so I would rate Magna a little bit higher. I would rate it above Argentum as well.
Yeah, see, I like the fog, the misty feeling of that fog in Magna Forest.
Yeah,
like,
it really handled a lot better with Definitive.
But like I do realize like the polygons loading in is not the best part of it personally, but I don't know.
I would
feel like
rate it
those
at the
are
top of
good
B,
work.
even above Black Mountains. If I had to be completely
you're
honest.
right. I'll go ahead and put it above Galahad Fortress. There we go. High B tier. I think that's like the highest it can go for B tier standards. So yeah, I would say that. And then like a half hour later, we're gonna totally change that.
Yeah.
No spoilers or anything. But next up is Mechonis Core, or wait, no, it's not Mechonis Core. It's Mechonis Field. A lot of people really enjoy Mechonis Field, and I can agree. Mechonis Field generally is a solid A tier, low A tier Xenoblade area. I really enjoyed exploring through it. The music's great. Having to like activate the elevators and then having to, I love having fun on those conveyor belts.
The conveyor belts, the slide outside.
Yeah, the people movers, and then you can go outside of Mechonis Field and like you can find that secret Mechonis hideout if you go through the scar that's on the Mechonis too. When you're inside, it's really nice, but when you go outside is when it gets really great. Like you can just see
and then you
everything.
see this,
You can just
and then you see the scope
world.
of how far you go up.
Yeah,
and then it's like barely at the shin or something like that.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that aspect of Mechonis Field, especially, and like a lot of people can say the same way to it. So, and also something that I feel is underrated about Mechonis Field in general is that you can skip a lot of the enemies just by going a shortcut, like to the side. It's like such a nice idea if you don't want to fight too many enemies. And it does that a little bit in Central Factory, but like it only does it to a certain extent.
Yeah, well, especially because Sword Valley onward, look at the enemy variety. It's Mechon and Mechon and Mechon and Mechon, and you get a little fatigued from it. So the idea that you can go past some of these was a nice break for a bit.
Yeah, of course you do have to fight some Mechon to progress, but like I feel like the idea of just going out to the side and just skipping Mechon fights entirely is just such a nice thing for the player to just go through and whatnot.
Yeah.
So now Mora Dane is interesting. It was one of my favorite Xenoblade 2 areas, but I'll be perfectly honest, I don't really like it as much anymore. I feel like the desert area is just kind of, I don't know, it feels kind of generic feeling to me. Like the factory setting is kind of iffy, and it even has
the music goes hard for such a okay zone.
Yeah, for sure.
Not even okay, a little less than okay, in my opinion.
Yeah, it has the old factory, which a lot of people just don't like. Me included. Not really evocative of anything. The best area, though, is Alba Cavendish, which I really love Alba Cavendish, but why do you have to be in such a desolate area? It's kind of sad if you think about it that I'm kind of criticizing Mora Dane for that, because
I think Alba Cavendish itself is fine, but my biggest disappointment with Mora Dane is, and we saw this in Gormott, there was little to no play in verticality, and it's like you'd think in a Titan that's literally standing upright we could make more use of that, but no.
Yeah, it's very disappointing in that regard. So
yeah, like instead of having it be like desert, make it more craggy sort of vibes. I don't know.
Maybe have like a lava section or like areas with poison, but you just like go through desert.
Like I like the idea. There's hot springs. I like the idea of the hot springs on it, but my goodness, like it needed more.
I mean, you go inside some places, but then like it's just another kind of desolate kind of area afterwards. So I don't know. I think that this may be controversial to some people, saying that putting Mora Dane like in the middle of B tier, but I don't know. It's just great.
Oh, you're more generous than me. I was gonna put it lower than B. I was gonna put it at I was gonna put it in C.
I can't do that because like I like Alba Cavendish and the music of Mora Dane, to just not put it in C tier, but otherwise it would just be in C tier as just this huge area. So
yeah, alrighty.
I think that's fine enough, really. I may, you know what? I think I might put it above Calderis, and then under Central Factory. So.
Okay.
Speaking of Xenoblade X locations that I don't know about, New Los Angeles. How do you think about that, Yggdrasil? Because I haven't played Xenoblade X, and the next two areas are gonna be Xenoblade X areas that I don't know of. So, how do you feel about New LA?
So a bit of bias because I live in California and LA is central to me. I'd have to be biased. It makes sense to me. I would put it as an A, not an S, but an A. It's very solid. X has a very good precedent for side quests and world building that's present in LA, but there's not all too much outside of side quests to do in LA, if that makes sense. Like, I wish there was more things you could do, like maybe puzzles, mini games, etc. That really, like, the Xenoblade series has lacked, and you know, it's fine if they don't want to go that route, but NLA was such a perfect avenue for it. Music choices can be a little funky, especially the night theme, but it weighs in on you and you get used to it, and you sort of enjoy it. But hey, aesthetically, it's beautiful. All the different districts, seeing what everything goes through, watching all the people walk on by.
Yeah, it's so diverse for a Xenoblade location, especially. So I like that for that fact. So.
I've more than on one occasion just gotten out of the scale and I've just walked the streets and had a moment just like walking along the vista. Even if there's nothing to do, it's just nice to just walk around there and just chill.
Yeah.
So I would say an A.
All right.
Not the top of A. Maybe like we'll say below Colony 6.
Okay.
Or Colony 9. Colony 9.
All right, sure. I'll put it under Colony 9 then. All right. So Noctilum is next. What do you think about that, Yggdrasil? Actually, before you say anything, I want to actually tell you a story about Noctilum that a friend showed me about it. So apparently there's hungry alligators in Noctilum. That's what he showed me. And yeah, they're very hungry, all right. They chase after you. And it's pretty scary.
Oh, yeah.
But what do you
Xenoblade... How do I feel about what?
How do you feel about Noctilum in general?
Xenoblade X, first off, is known for having a lot of really long aggro windows. But yeah, Noctilum, I would say it's fair. I would say a moderate B. Like, no, not moderate, like mid-lower B side. Very beautiful, very expansive, lots of foliage. And again, it just plays in on that aspect. I do think music is stronger in other zones, but it does have the luxury. In Xenoblade Chronicles X, the only known Telethia is within Noctilum. And there's not all too much info about it, even to this day. But the final super boss of that game is actually a Telethia that resides at the northernmost reach of Noctilum.
Can I say something else real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the tweet I made a few months ago about how people thought that, like, Endbringer Telethia is Melia? Have you seen that tweet yet?
I have seen it, yes.
Oh my god. Like, how would people think Melia, of all people, would be the Endbringer Telethia? Like, I don't get it. It's so weird. Like,
yeah.
I don't know why people keep making these really crackpot theories just like out thin air like that, but I just find it so funny that, like, people love to theorize that the Endbringer Telethia is Melia for some reason. I don't know. I'm not one to say anything because I haven't played X yet, so I don't have anything else to say. So let's get into the next Xenoblade X area, which is Oblivia.
Okay, Oblivia I can rate a fair bit higher. At the very bottom of A, let's say there. This is a desert zone done right, in my opinion. You got a large central desert area with extremely gigantic over-the-top mobs, including some supers. It's very beautiful when you think about it. The perimeters, we got some craggy areas, some floating sky islands all the way at the edge. A lot of side quests, NPC based later on. I just gotta say it's really cool, especially when you start getting your Skell.
To have the
Oh
Skell
yeah.
just start roaming the way, like there's roaming the wastes right there.
Yeah, for sure.
You got the Skell going right down through, and you just see the grit passing you by. No, I love Oblivia.
I love like the rings just showing itself off, and just like the fact that you can actually explore around those rings in each portion. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Oblivia is just so evocative of those rings that like I just wanted to mention that. So
Yeah, but okay, let's step out of Xenoblade X. Let's go on to the next one, Origin. Your thoughts?
all right, Origin is. I think I've kind of grown to like it over the past few weeks, but like I'd still say Origin is kind of an final dungeon to me. It's probably like the highest C tier that can go, because like Origin is just so fascinating. Like the fact that the final dungeon basically has like everyone's memories just stored in these cubes, and that you can just go right through it through an elevator, and the fact that like the whole place just represents Mobius's wishes in general, just having to go through it all. And the very mid section is probably one of my favorite moments in 3 in general, is Melia when you eventually save her, and then she declares that like you have Mobius inside of you, this world is yours. Like she has some of the best quotes from that section. And then like have you forgotten who I am is like one part that's evocative to me. It has some really neat puzzles, but I'm gonna just go ahead and start on the downsides of Origin. For one, it's just a Xenogears dungeon. Like a lot of, like I've said this before with a lot of the lower tier dungeons in this game, it's just it reminds me of the final dungeon of Xenogears to a T, more so than the BIOS interior. And I don't think it's a bad thing for saying that, but I still feel like there's something kind of not right about it. Like there's a lot of unique monster hordes in it as well that are kind of annoying to get through. They're all in the way and stuff. And like the music, for the most part, like the beginning area is spectacular, but like going through it, the music just kind of drains you a little bit as well. There's a few boss fights with X and Y in there as well, which I didn't really care for. Yeah, honestly, not so fun final dungeon, but it's still better than BIOS Interior by a long shot. But I think I'll probably change my mind on a repeat playthrough of Xenoblade 3. I'd say Origin would probably be a little bit higher up, but right now Origin is just kind of like high C tier for me. So
yeah, I'm gonna agree right there. I was told a lot of people enjoyed it back when the game released, but I didn't quite mind it all too much. I was hoping for more scenic changes, you know. I was hoping for, it's like, you know, we're in the crux of this world. Like, let's see something crazy. Yeah, the elevator down with all of the gigantic core crystals leading into the theater was great, but everything before that, it's okay. The Ferronis buildings, or like the Ferronis construction section wing, was probably my favorite bit. Beyond that, not so much. X and Y were lackluster. Nothing special going on there. It's just a repeat of their fights and their gimmicks, but yeah.
I really enjoyed
that's all I really have to say on it. I was disappointed.
I just enjoy the core of Origin personally. Like with the end fight, it's fantastic, that whole area, and then seeing Melia, just Noah, the Ouroboros just meeting Melia over there. It really does get to me. But yeah, I do agree that the whole area just feels really samey. All right. So the next one is the Pentalis region, which includes
Let's see. It's got the
Mac the
Wildwoods.
Orion Tunnels. It's got Great Mac the Falls or something.
Yeah, Great Cost Falls.
Yeah, Great Cod Falls. That's right. It's pretty decent. I would probably put it like under Magna Forest personally. It does a lot of things right. Like Mac the Wildwood is such a very dense and very. I think I might put it at low A tier, maybe under Oblivia.
Oh, you're actually more generous than I thought. I tend to disagree with a lot of people in this zone. I'm not a big fan. I think Uriah could have been a lot more than just a spider cave for Riku and Manana's side quest. I wish it had a little bit more going on there. Great Kata Falls is the highlight for me. I think it handles the scenery, monster density, and verticality and things to like little nooks and crannies to go for. I think it handles all that really well. But then you get to Mac the Wildwood, and I gotta say, I'm also disappointed with the Mac the Wildwood. That underpass area is not the best. It's just one giant bog of poison. It's like, okay, and then eventually it just doesn't matter. And then I just think that they could have played, it's like these giant trees and these giant decayed structures with Moratha's ruins, I think could have had a lot more going on beyond just a rather linearly defined path. I will say the colony there takes good advantage of being smushed between these two towers, and that's how they hide. I think that's a really good idea, but beyond that, I was just disappointed. I would have loved to have scrawled around on the inside of some of these buildings more, or see what else is going on,
Right. I think I'm gonna put it in high B tier personally. Just where I put it before, under Magna Forest. But a lot of the stuff I do agree with, like Orion Tunnels could have been better. Like there's some stuff that I liked about Orion Tunnels, like the one section that was part of Fonsamima, like that goes up to the ruins. That part I really enjoyed. There is also the Orion Trail, which isn't really anything spectacular. It's just like a trail that has like one branching cave and stuff. That's just kind of iffy. And Mac the Wildwood is probably one of my favorite looking locations in Xenoblade 3, but like you said, they really didn't do much with the whole natural aesthetic of the area. But I do understand that in the game's perspective, that like it looks that way, and the same way goes with the Great Cot Falls. The Great Cot Falls is waterfalls up the wazoo. Like I really like how it looks in general, and how like out of place it feels, and the whole entire Ionios feels like that to me. It's just a whole bunch of areas that don't fit in well with each other, and I like it for that reason. So yeah,
because not every zone's meant to be an idealistic mishmash. I agree.
Yeah, in like how Mobius wants it to be, really. So next up is Primordia.
Back to the land of X. Yeah, Primordia. So
it continues the trend of a strong grassy plains area. A lot to do, a lot to explore. I would rate this one pretty favorably, obviously, as it's within it's right outside NLA, or rather NLA is right smack in the middle of it, or southern middle of it. I would go ahead and put it like in A. I would say an A tier, above Fornus region, let's say there. So sort of towards in the middle of it, just going out there, seeing when you get out of that small tutorial area, and Elma pans out the screen, and you just see everything, and it's just walk around, and it's just as you begin to walk, it's like, wait, we've been walking like 20 minutes. How much farther is this place? It looks so close, and you keep walking and walking, and it gets a sense of the scale of the world so right. And for that reason alone, I would give it an A.
All right. Yeah, I would put it in A tier, A as well, like right in the middle. Like from what I've seen of Primordia, I just think it's just such a massive area. Like I believe it's the biggest area in Xenoblade X, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I believe it was pointed out that all of Xenoblade Chronicles X, if you were just to go in a straight line from the tippy top of Noctilum all the way to the most eastern edge of Oblivia, and you were just to walk with a scale, that whole section of land is still 5 times the size of Skyrim.
Wow, that's
So yeah,
huge, man.
that's something for scope right there. But yeah, we're not talking about Skyrim. We're talking about Prison Island.
We're talking about Prison Island. All right, Prison Island is, I would personally say, the second best final dungeon in Xenoblade, easily.
You know, I get so worried because a lot of people are disappointed in Prison Island. I'm just like, I quite like it. Again, the same deal with its appearance in the Black Mountains. I just wish there was more context of it, more info of it, more lore for it. I quite liked it.
I just feel like it's such a nostalgic area, personally, especially at the end of the game where it's getting so tense, having to go through all of Prison Island, climbing up to just fight Dixon and take on God himself. And you're also going through like these incredible looking chambers.
Yeah, the residence of the giants sitting atop the Prison Island, yeah.
Yeah, there's like gigantic beasts there, living there and stuff. Other depictions of Prison Island, obviously, like the very top of it, like in...
The Coliseum, the stage grounds, everything.
Yeah, pretty much. And like in Future Redeemed, I think it fits pretty well in there as well. So... like, as just a fitting final area of both Xenoblade 1 and the Xenoblade series for, like, the Cloud Saga in general. It's just such a fitting area, and that's why it's, like, my second favorite final dungeon in this particular game, so... Yep. Alright, guys, this will be the end of Part 3. Join us next week as we will continue our fourth and final part of the Xenoblade area's tier list. I want to also thank Evernight Studios for making the intro to this video. I really enjoyed the work he put into it, and I hope you guys like it as much as I do. Also, I would like to know, how will you rank the areas in Xenoblade? Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, go ahead and check out Yggdrasil's content. He does a lot of Xeno series videos, and he recently put out a video on the release date on the Noah and Neo amiibos. He's very active on YouTube, and I highly recommend checking out his channel. Until then, guys, see you on the other side!